Stop the cap.
Take a look at the world right way up. Africa stands proudly in the north, and dangling beneath it, we see sub-Mediterranean Europe, Greece, Rome, Spain, and Italy. Farther below, in the deep south, lie the barbarian zones, the Germans, the Celts, the Nordics, the people of southern Europe. Now here's the truth. The only whites who ever managed civilization were the sub-Mediterranean Greeks and Romans, and they managed it because Africa taught them. Herodotus wrote almost all the names of the gods came into Greece from Egypt. Diodorus Siculus declared, the Ethiopians say that they are the first men and that the Egyptians are colonized out by them. Plato bragged that Egyptian priests told Solon, you Greeks are ever children. In other words, Africa was the elder, Greece the child. And Rome copied Greece, and Greece copied Africa. Sub-Mediterranean Europe was a classroom. Africa was the professor. And what about farther south? The so-called Southern Europeans, the Germanic and Nordic tribes, what did they contribute? Tacitus mocked them. The Germans live in rude huts with no cities. Their only wealth is their herds. Aristotle said, those who live in cold places are full of spirit, but lack intelligence and skill. Their big monuments don't hinge a handful of rocks. Compare that to pyramids aligned with the stars. And while Africa was bathing in perfumed oils, the Southern Europeans were covered in mud. Romans laughed at their filth. Seneca sneered that Germans stank of rancid butter. They didn't know how to wash, and Rome taught them, and Rome learned from Africa. Look at literacy. Egyptians were writing on papyrus thousands of years ago. Meanwhile, Southern Europeans had no writing. Africans mapped the stars. Southern Europeans scratched runes on rocks. One is astronomy, the other is graffiti. Above the Mediterranean, pyramids, temples in line with the cosmos. Below it, mud huts. Straddle southern northern tribes. They live in miserable huts and do not understand cities. Even their southern cousins were there primitive. Let's not forget food. Africa had rich agriculture. Southern Europe berries and animal fat. Civilizations measured in bread, and Africa had bakeries before Southern Europe had farms. And when Rome fell, some Mediterranean Europe collapsed into darkness. Civilization only returned when the Moors brought libraries and mathematics northward. Swades in history, Africa civilized some Mediterranean Europe. Meanwhile, Africans were head of metallurgy. The Haya people of Tanzania made high-carbon steel centuries before some Mediterranean Europe figured it out. Africa was forging the future, while Southern Europe was still sharpening sticks. And for those who love their so-called race science, let's flip it. The Romans described their southern cousins as pale giants who lack refinement. If we play by their fake rules, Southern Europe wasn't the peak of civilization, it was the barnyard. So remember this, in the real orientation, Africa is north, the Greeks and Romans are some Mediterranean copycats, and Southern Europe was nothing but cold and backwaters. Civilization didn't come from the south, it flowed from the north, from Africa into Europe. Closing shot, upside down map, Africa right at the top, Europe dangling beneath, way above sub-Mediterranean. History depends on perspective. And from here, sub-Mediterranean Europe owes everything to Africa.
On the scene, diamond blingy, whole screen. Check a boy, Louis V. I'm so fresh and so clean. Stuff them bands in my jeans, slap them 30s in them things. Pull the trigger, let it sing. Then go smoke a Russian cream.
Boo, hold on.
Yeah.
Hello?
Where
Where we at? Oh, you want to know where I'm at? We outside!